Have you ever had a week where something just feels different? Not in a huge way, not a big giant breakthrough, but the smallest things. The way you speak to yourself, the way you move through your day, the way you feel inside your own skin, suddenly feeling softer. This week, I noticed old defenses in me begin to soften, and it showed up in the most ordinary ways. And that's how I knew healing was happening in ways that I didn't even expect. Hi there. If we haven't met yet, my name is Raquel Perez, a licensed therapist here in the state of Colorado and the creator of Everyday Therapy. This is week 2 of my series following my healing journey, where I share my real-time, honest unfolding of my own healing journey, just as it's happening inside my life, my heart, and my relationships. And this week taught me something very important. When healing begins to take root, your everyday life becomes the first place that you see it. Last week, I shared the moment where my inner child came forward. A moment that felt like a doorway opening. I held her, I loved her, and something inside me changed. But I didn't realize how far-reaching that moment would be. That is, until the days began flowing by. The first place that I noticed something was different was during something as ordinary as cleaning my house. Normally, I just push right through it. I'm overwhelmed, annoyed, and exhausted before I even get started. But this time, it was a little bit different. It was coming from a place of love. I caught myself thinking, I love myself so much that I deserve a clean and orderly space to be in, to live life in. And honestly, that thought, it stopped me right in my tracks. Cleaning didn't feel like a punishment. It really wasn't a chore at that moment. It wasn't another thing that I just had to push right through. It became an act of care, a way of tending to myself, the same way that I'd tend to someone that I deeply love. And this is when I realized that this is what softening looks like. Not one big transformation, but in very small moments where love begins to replace pressure. Another moment happened during my morning yoga, which, by the way, I just started redoing again. I went through the flow just like I normally do, but something in me, it felt different in the end. Instead of thinking of everything I had to get done that day, or rushing to fold up my yoga mat and get on with the rest of the day, I laid there and I held myself and I felt this wave of gratitude, of love for myself. I was thanking my body in ways that I hadn't before, thanking it for carrying me through even when I didn't make things very easy. And I'll be honest, it felt really new and a little bit strange, but also really, really beautiful. I've spent most of my life not really knowing what it feels like to really appreciate me. But this week, I caught myself loving myself in these very tiny and gentle ways. And I knew that this was the work that my inner child was waiting for. And then there's my relationship of 4 years with my girlfriend. This week, we had some very loving and connecting moments. The kind that make you feel seen and safe. But we also had moments that turned completely upside down. We both have protective patterns. We both carry wounds. And sometimes that old dance, it shows up. But here's the difference. I didn't go as far into the spiral as I usually do. Yes, the thoughts, they still came up. Yes, the old fears still whispered in my ear, but they didn't take over. They didn't swallow me up whole. I felt myself come back sooner, breathe sooner, and remember love sooner. And that's when I realized healing isn't about never spiraling. It's about the difference between the trigger and the return. And this week, the distance was shorter. When old defenses soften, it isn't because we're trying harder. It's because something inside of us feels safer than it used to. The body doesn't just let go of protection because we've convinced it to. It lets go because it doesn't feel like it has to survive anymore. And that's what this week felt like. Not a big, huge breakthrough, but the beginning of trust. A trust that love is possible. A trust that connection won't destroy me. A trust that my inner child isn't alone inside of me anymore. So I want to ask you, where have you noticed small shifts in your own healing journey? Where have you softened? Where do you return to yourself faster than you used to? These moments, they aren't small. They are the quiet proof that healing is happening. And if you'd like to explore this own softening in your own life, I've created a meditation to help support you on that journey. It's for helping release your own protections and allowing yourself to be seen. You can find it linked in the description down below or right here. It's a gentle space to allow your body to feel safe enough to loosen its grip on old defenses. Also, don't forget to download your free booklet linked in the description down below. It's called Sacred Spaces, and it's designed to help you create the emotional safety needed for deep exploration, curiosity, and self-discovery. Thank you for being here with me and walking this path with me, for choosing softness, for choosing yourself, and for allowing me the honor to be in this healing journey with you. Well, my friend, that's all I have for today. See you next week as the journey continues its unfolding. Bye for now.